What's up, everyone? Andre here, along with Daniel, or aka Captain Bergenson from the YouTube with the same name, as well as the Highly In Games cast. But also, apparently, you're a big Pikmin fan here, Daniel. How are you doing? And are you excited? And how are you feeling about Pikmin 4 in general right now?
I'm so shocked it's even a real thing, to be honest.
Right?
I thought they quietly canceled it years ago and didn't tell anyone. But here we are. Yeah.
Here we are. Yes, we got the surprise re-announcement, if you will. I guess first official announcement. Miyamoto had commented that it existed 7 years ago, but we had never seen or heard anything of it since. And we only just recently celebrated. I think it was the 7th anniversary of not hearing anything since its initial announcement. So actually seeing it yesterday was a surprise. As far as I know, it wasn't rumored at all. There was no one had this on their radar, and like you, I had written it off, at least as it had been announced. Now, I did think there was some chance it would come back in a general sense because of Pikmin Bloom, Pikmin being at Super Nintendo World in some form, but then being hidden around, and of course Pikmin 3 Deluxe. But still, just seeing that logo, seeing it exist in any form, was shocking. But they did not show much of it off. They showed, I think, literally 19 seconds of gameplay, and even that was barely anything. Not any actual gameplay. They gave us a screenshot, and that's pretty much it. Miyamoto did give us a few new words about it. He said specifically, I believe, something to the effect of, Nintendo Switch has made controlling this game simpler, allowing us to better concentrate on the core action of the gameplay, which involves strategically planning, deploying, and commanding the Pikmin. So that's really all we have to go off of. So I want to find out from you, Daniel, and together, how this game could play. How different is it going to be on Switch? What we can determine from what little we've seen of it, and kind of what our general expectations are. But before we get into all of it, I just want to go over a little bit more of, what is your stance as a Pikmin fan? What it's like for you to see this game finally exist in real form, and anything else you may be feeling about it right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's surreal, because Pikmin feels like one of those, like we were saying before we started here, feels like such a niche sort of franchise that nobody seems to really care about, except for those few core fans.
Right.
It's a lot like Metroid Dread's announcement in a way, is what I compared it to online before, is this long rumored game that people talked about years and years ago and thought never was going to happen, and then suddenly poof, it's here, it's happening very suddenly. And it's Pikmin's gameplay is really unique compared to other Nintendo franchises. There's really nothing else like it, so it's awesome. I'm so hyped to see this.
Yeah. I am too, especially after, I think Pikmin 3 Deluxe in particular, that's actually one of the few games that I think fully earns its Deluxe moniker. Adding that co-op is game-changing, and I think it allowed me to enjoy it in a way that I had wanted to with the original, that on top of the control tweaks and a few other things that they improved about the game. But playing with in co-op was super fun, and I hope that's a direction that they lean into for this sequel as well. But yeah, I've been a long-time Pikmin fan. I was at the original reveal of the first game, over 20 years ago, 21 years ago. I was there. Yeah, and I remember I remember the name had leaked early. People are like, Pikmin, is that a Pokemon spin-off or something? And of course we actually see it in the E3 2001 reveal, and it's oh, that's a very different type of game. One that was custom made for the GameCube controller, and then we got a sequel in the same system. Then it sat out for a while, and it wasn't really until the Wii U that we saw it come back. And so yeah, they just like having these huge gaps in this series, and I don't know why that is. But it has always, as you were saying, it's always had that kind of niche quality to it ever since the original. They sell decently, but never amazingly. They don't light the world on fire. And it's too bad, because it's a fun, charming little game that has pretty good, impressive production values given, relative to its sales, I feel like.
Oh, totally. And it's weird because they feel like they really pushed the hardware in a way. That Pikmin 1 is one of the best looking GameCube games I think out there, and same with 3 on the Wii U. Is I remember getting that game and thinking wow, this looks so, maybe it's a little dated now, it's not so photorealistic, but I remember thinking wow, this is a Wii U game, this looks so impressive. But yeah, it is kind of impressive, that production value, considering how sort of small of a franchise it is compared to your Marios and Zeldas of the world there. But yeah, I mean, Pikmin 3 was actually my foray into the series. I was a late adopter, unlike you.
Did you go back and play the originals after?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So what
good.
happened is, yeah, because Pikmin 3 had a demo on the Wii U, and I was like, okay, whatever, I'm bored, I'll just try this out, and I was like instantly hooked. And so then, of course, bought the game. It was a Nintendo Select at the time, which I miss. I would wish that program would come back. And then I went back to get 1 and 2. First the GameCube, and then I also bought the Wii versions because I like the controls on the Wii version quite a lot. So, but they're one of those. It's one of those franchises that I find like I can go back to, and even though they're short games, like I can just replay very frequently. Even if it's something I've played like 20 times over, I like feel motivated to go back and start over and go through it, try and do better, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost has that like arcade, like high score mentality on a much larger scale where, yeah, you always feel like you can do better than you did the time before. And even though the game isn't really built around that, it kind of feels like it is. I mean, obviously it incentivizes you with the whole, pseudo time limit that's still in 3. But yeah, it just feels good to like, go through, try to diminish how many Pikmin are actually dying, And could you imagine they actually introduced like a proper like what's the word for like one hit, one death and you're out mode, with permanent death basically. If you lose a single Pikmin, it's over. That's it. Or you get 100 Pikmin. Yeah. Oh my god, what if you only had 100 Pikmin for the entire game and that's it?
That would be wild. I did a run through Pikmin 3 Deluxe where I did it on not ultra spicy but on hard mode, and I was like determined to get through it without, and I did it with 0 Pikmin deaths.
Wow.
I felt very accomplished.
That's amazing.
Because yeah, many Pikmin actually did die. I just kept restarting the day every time that happened.
So, at what point during the Direct yesterday did you realize did you think there was a chance we were going to get Pikmin 4 as we went into this whole, like, Miyamoto Bloom spiel, or...?
Oh, absolutely not. I just thought it was Miyamoto. Like, I saw Miyamoto, and I was like, he's going to talk about the Mario movie. That's why he's here, right?
That's what I thought, too,
yeah, Mario movie. I really thought that was going to be it. And then he talked a bit about Pikmin Bloom. I was kind of rolling my eyes, like, okay, all right, they got to give Miyamoto his screen time because he's Miyamoto. I get it. And then no disrespect to the man, of course, but it just felt very like obligatory in a sense. But yeah, this totally caught me off guard. Completely caught me off guard.
So were you jumping out of your chair when it was finally showing off?
Not jumping out necessarily, but I was. I have my reaction video up on my channel. I kind of froze in a way, like with mouth gaping, like just frozen, like a deer in a headlight.
Like a bulborb trying to eat a Pikmin or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't. It didn't. I still wasn't convinced it was Pikmin 4 until the number actually appeared on the screen. Like, is this a spin-off? Yeah. Like, especially because we didn't even see any actual Pikmin in the trailer. It wasn't until after the Miyamoto showed a picture that I wish I had for us right now. But it wasn't until after that Miyamoto showed a picture that we actually saw the Pikmin themselves and Brittany, which is interesting. But yeah, it's only then I fully believed it. I'm like, wow, this thing actually exists. Although I assume probably now in a different form than it did originally. And I want to know, like, what happened? What happened in the last 7 years? At what point did they restart development? What was wrong with the original version? Oh, is it not Brittany? Is it Bonnie? Wait, no, it's not Bonnie. It's not Brittany? Oh, I totally misread that. Who is it?
It looks like Brittany.
Yeah, I thought it looked like Brittany.
Because the hair style is pretty unique. Because most of the other characters are pretty bald. Let's be honest.
Maybe chat's gonna correct me here. I didn't look too closely at that yet. I was considering doing a
new character.
Is it a new character?
Maybe, yeah, but that's what they're saying. New character.
Okay,
fine with that, because I thought Pikmin 3 bringing in a new crew was pretty cool, actually.
I was going to say, so
I love all of them, but
that actually, yeah, I totally misread that comment, Bonnie. That actually, it makes sense because every Pikmin game has had, to some degree, a new crew or a new character at the least. The Pikmin 3 went to the extreme of revamping almost every, well, yeah, to a point, the entire crew you had. Now so I want to get into like what we actually expect of Pikmin 4 to play, because the previous 3 games have like been, I would say, fairly incremental in how they've added on the gameplay. And I commented on Twitter earlier, one of the biggest changes they add to each one is they add another character. So Pikmin 2 had 2 characters, Pikmin 3 had 3 characters. So is Pikmin 4 going to introduce 4 characters? And then we also had the comments from Miyamoto, and I was curious, just what you make of everything so far.
Mm-hmm. The thing that confuses me the most is he said that the Switch made it easier to control.
Yeah.
And I mean, that I don't see how. I mean, Pikmin 3 Deluxe's controls were different than Pikmin 3 on Wii U, but I mean, that wasn't something that like you needed Switch hardware to do. Like they added, it's like better targeting system and stuff like that, right? So I feel like that isn't necessarily something unique to Switch, unless it's something you have to play in handheld with like. Use the IR like something weird and gimmicky like that, which I really kind of hope not.
It can't. No, it better not be handheld only or something. It won't be. Yeah, it can't be. It won't be.
Yeah, it better not be. It is confusing. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just don't understand. Yeah, I'm also similarly perplexed and intrigued. I want to know what he means by that, because there's nothing that I can think of that the Switch can really do that you couldn't do on, say, the gamepad and or with a Wii remote, which you could also use in Pikmin 3 or the remasters on Wii. So I am very curious what he means by that. Like, maybe you have to play with like dual Joy-Cons and you have like dual analog controls or motion controls. Like, I don't know. I want to know what he means by that. But I was also intrigued by his comments where he suggested that being able to strategically plan, deploy, and command the Pikmin is going to be quite different this time. And that, like, when I first hear that makes me think they're almost aiming for it to be more of an RTS. Like, Pikmin always felt like Nintendo's taken RTS, and it almost feels like they're leaning more in that direction. I don't think it's gonna be like a full-on like war game or anything, but I do wonder it does sound like they're making it more strategic, more because Pikmin like Pikmin in particular, like, it was simplified to a degree that you almost didn't even have to play, especially the sequels, you almost didn't even have to play with having to worry about multiple groups of Pikmin if you didn't want to. You could focus on a single captain at a time or a single group of Pikmin and just play it that way. So I wonder if they are intentionally trying to make it so you kind of have to be more diverse this time. You have to spread out and better command your troops. And that makes me think, well, how are they going to accomplish that? So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on any of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because Pikmin 3 definitely had a stronger focus on splitting your teams up
with the
to be more efficient. Yeah, with having 3 captains and like ledges you have to throw certain captains to and work on different sides of the bridge over, that kind of thing. So maybe that is kind of what they mean. Another thought is maybe it's just different control schemes, like Pikmin on GameCube, you have just your GameCube control scheme versus Wii, you have just your Wii control scheme, and then Wii U had a couple, you could use the touchscreen if you wanted to, but Switch had kind of a hodgepodge of like all different kind of control. You could use just buttons, or you could use the Joy-Con just as a, like how you would use a Wii remote, although it's not quite as good. So maybe that's just how he means, or a fun idea might be if he means that co-op with people with multiple consoles in the same room would be like simplified or easier to do. Like you could do co-op, but not just split screen, like have 2 people with 2 Switches playing together in the same game or something like that. That would be frankly awesome to see. So yeah, it's a thought. I don't know. I thought co-op was a really cool addition to 3 Deluxe, so I'm kind of hoping to see more of that anyways. So anything that makes that easier to do would be awesome.
Yeah, I definitely hope co-op is back. I really think that was transformative for Pikmin, and even though it wasn't online, it was a total blast playing it with in split screen. But I do hope that they further embrace it. I hope they go online with it, and I think they...
Online would be great, yeah.
Yeah, I think they almost have to. And I wonder if they'll add like a 4th captain, as I said earlier, based on the fact that every other Pikmin had added a captain, and that way each player could have, if it's 2-player co-op, each player would have 2 players they can control. Or if they go all out, if it's online, what if we had 4-player co-op? Like, wouldn't that be amazing? Especially if they are trying to make it more of a strategic based gameplay where you actually have to work together as different groups in order to accomplish these things.
Yeah, that actually would be really incredible. And I saw, not something I did on my own, but I saw someone had made a mod of Pikmin 2, for example, to add online co-op to it. And that totally changes the flow of gameplay, having 2 players simultaneously like that. So yeah, honestly, 4 players simultaneous co-op, especially if you could do more Pikmin than just 100 in the field, would be amazing, actually.
I mean, that was one of the downsides to co-op was you were limited to 100 Pikmin in total. So yeah, you could have at most, or I guess basically 50 per captain in co-op mode.
Right.
And I do hope that they expand that, because that was a little limiting, and especially if they want you to, if they're aiming for a more strategic model here, it might make sense to expand it. I don't know. We'll see. But then I think back to how could this work in a single player way? Just because, I hope that co-op is a big focus here, but at the same time, that can't be the only focus. It would have to also work for a single person as well. And I've had this idea for a while now, and I don't know if it's a good one or not. But, like, I always thought it would be cool. Like, what if Olimar or whoever you're playing as this time has their own little spaceship? Like, it can't fly out. It can't fly out the planet. It's just like a little hovercraft thing, and this allows him to quickly get around. That way you can quickly, go from location to location and command troops. I mean, maybe you command troops from the air. Just something that way you keep your physical avatar, but something that lets you get around the map quicker, so you can more easily get to these different groups without necessarily having to switch between captains, though that could also be a factor still.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would definitely feel like it's leaning more into like the RTS.
Yeah, more like a god perspective type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you play, I used to play Warcraft 3 back in the day. That's very much like what that makes me think of. Like you're just sort of this enigmatic floating in the sky being. So that could be cool though, actually. To see, yeah.
I think, and kind of adding to that idea is one of the things Miyamoto pointed out about Pikmin 4 is that they're taking a perspective of, I forget exactly what he said. It was something along the lines of play from the Pikmin's perspective near the ground. So they are at the very least changing their perspective, making it less of a top-down gameplay experience, at least when you're on the ground, and more of one where I guess you'll better be able to see the size of things, and that's actually kind of cool. I really like that idea, and it plays perfectly into my idea if you do have this vehicle thing, which would then give you the top-down perspective. You're switching between the two or something. I wonder if that's going to be a mechanic where, in order to enable that, they now give you this also lower to the ground perspective, which I think could be a neat thing.
I mean, as long as it's not Hey Pikmin's just full side-scrolling point A to point B level design, then I'm here for it. But I mean, it could also be just something as simple as him meaning that you have full proper camera control, unlike it just being.
I think that's what he means.
Yeah. Which I mean, I'm good with that. I like being able to take in the environments more.
Well, and we're already able to see how that enhances the visual style, at least, or the level design, where it feels like this level in particular that they showed off has more of a physical presence than any of the others. In this case, it looks like you're in a park or something. Like there's a bench, you can see a fence, you can see a watch draped over it for some reason, or a pocket watch. And it just feels like more of a actual human space that once existed, and I wonder if they're gonna play even more into that now, where it seems like Pikmin takes place in a distant future where humans are long gone. And this actually feels the most like that I think we've seen, outside of maybe one-off areas, like some of the caves in Pikmin 2, for instance.
Yeah, the clock actually made me think that, and I was like, no, I'm overthinking this, but it kind of made me think that they're going to lean harder into having a hard time limit like Pikmin 1 did. And I was, because I think there's 3 different shots and the clock is there in all of them. And I wasn't sure if that was just oh, they have this really nice model they want to show off, or if it's something that is actually significant to the story or the gameplay. I have no idea.
I honestly hope it is. I'm one of the odd ones who love the time limit in Pikmin 1. I feel like they've been stepping away from that, and when you do step away from that, you reduce. I understand that for some people they don't like the stress of it all, but I think that's what made the Pikmin gameplay what it is. Pikmin 3 brought back a little bit with the soft time limit with the food or whatnot. That was a little too forgiving for my taste, so to speak, with it being food based.
Yeah.
But I love the time limit Pikmin 1 because it forced you to think strategically about everything, and if they are leaning more into into adding more strategy to it, having a time limit would, I think, help enable that, where you do have to think about your troops and manage them within a time limit. And I think it'd be fair, I think a smart way of going about it, or a good way of going about it, would be to offer different time limits. Hey, are you a Pikmin pro? Here, you get 10 days or whatever. Are you new to Pikmin? Then here, have 100. Whatever the limits they said are. But I think offering something that can find a good balance for some people who don't want that huge amount of time pressure. Whereas for people who do want that, like myself, we can have that, and I think that actually does enhance everything. I like having that pressure. That's why I like Majora's Mask. You have a small amount of time to get everything you need to get done, and it just recontextualizes everything that you're doing in the game.
Totally, and I agree. I think I liked 3's take on it conceptually, like the idea of being able to, okay, you have a hard time limit, but you do have a way to sort of add more to that time by collecting things. But I mean, it got to the point where by the end of the game, I have like 50 days worth of resources. So it was definitely, like I said, like just a little too forgiving. Even on the harder settings in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I still had like so much stockpiled. So it's yeah, I think just like leaning into that more, it's almost like a return to roots in a sense.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, sorry, that was unintentional.
But yeah, no, that's what I'm hoping for. I just think it's more fun when I feel like I'm being stressed constantly.
Well, I think it leans into the like idea of like having to, the Dandori thing that Miyamoto said, like having to strategically plan out what you want to do and how you want to get it done efficiently, right? And having a time limit. If you don't have that time limit, you don't need to try and be efficient about it, which I think is what 2 was kind of missing. So yeah, it is. I think it's kind of needs to be there to be part of the DNA of the series, like a time limit of some form.
Yeah. I don't think they'll go back to Pikmin 1, which had a universal time limit where, like, if you didn't finish it, within the 30 days, then you had to restart the entire game over. And they already stepped back a little bit from that with the re-release on Wii, where you could basically restart from any day, I think, any day in the 30-day calendar. Which isn't a terrible solution. And then Pikmin 3, as you mentioned, tried it a different way. I think they may have kept that as well, but they also had the idea where, you have however much food you have is how much time you have left. But as you mentioned, like, you reach a tipping point where it just doesn't matter anymore. You have like effectively an infinite amount of time, and then you'd lose everything. So I hope they find a better balance, or you lose the stress, I should say. So I hope they find a better balance this time, whether it's just a day-to-day or more of a I'm not even quite sure. I don't know what a good balance would be. Maybe cap how much food you can have. Maybe your food silo is only so big you can only have 3 days in reserve. I don't know, something like that. But all right,
yeah, that would be one way to do it. Yeah.
Let's talk new Pikmin. I've seen the chat bring this up.
Right.
I feel like that's something that they have to do. Like, every Pikmin game has had new types of Pikmin. In 2, it was the white and purple ones. In 3, it was the flying pink ones. What else can they do, Pikmin-wise? There are several colors that are unexplored. Someone, I think it was Meatball Music, had mentioned we don't have green, orange, black, or brown Pikmin. And I believe some of those colors were actually teased way back in Pikmin 1, if I remember correctly, in the ending.
Yeah.
I think you can see different.
Yeah, when you see all the onions.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want green Pikmin, and the logo is green. So.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, green would be cool. I was thinking like an ice Pikmin of some kind would be. Oh, actually, someone in the chat also said that cyan ice Pikmin.
That's a good
but that
one.
would be kind of cool. Because we've like one who's red is like fire resistance, yellow has like electricity. Rock Pikmin were really cool as well. So
Mr.
either that or
Physics
like
says, Andre, don't erase Rock Pikmin. I'm sorry, Mr. Physics.
Oh, or even like a one that could like tunnel in the ground or something. I thought would be like maybe you need them to like go underneath certain obstacles. Or, like,
I love
tunnel
that.
through.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is so good, because that is something they haven't explored. You can fly above the ground now, but we haven't gone underground yet. At least not with Pikmin digging underground. That's an awesome idea. So that's a fun one. I feel like that'd be the brown Pikmin's role. Like, they made brown, right? They're dirt Pikmin or whatever. Yeah.
dirt Pikmin. These Pikmin are dirty.
Gotta take them for a bath. Have the blue Pikmin just throw them into the water and then go rescue them.
Oh no.
What else? I'm trying to think of what else. What other Pikmin types? Yeah, you did a few good ideas there. What could a green Pikmin do?
Oh geez, I'm not sure. Maybe like
camouflage Pikmin.
of
Yeah,
some kind?
we both had the same idea at the same time.
There we go.
Like, if they don't move, you can't see them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the bulb orbs are already kind of unobservant, because you can like hide in like tall plants and stuff. So like having one that is more like leans into that, but maybe they're really weak or something like that, as to sort of offset that advantage. You know,
you just give me an idea. This is a slight detour here. So I was reminded of the fact that in Pikmin 3, you actually could make the little baby Bulborbs like part of your team temporarily at times.
Oh yes, that was in the caves of Pikmin 2.
Okay, is that where that started?
Yeah, the little Bulbmen.
That's right.
Yeah,
Bulbmen.
those were. I think those showed up as green on your map too, actually.
I want a counter-op type mode where, like, Perfect Dark style, where a second player can take control of the enemies and play as the Bulborbs and try to get their revenge on Olimar and or whoever else you're playing as. I think that could be a fun thing. These specific missions built for the idea where one player is just trying to survive and the other is trying to, take him out or whatever.
That seems like it would ruin some friendships.
That's the Nintendo way, man. They make these online games or multiplayer games that just destroy friendships. You got Mario Party or Mario Kart, Splatoon most recently.
True. Yeah, this is a thought as well as not necessarily a new type of Pikmin, but in a lot of the times they've added new abilities to existing Pikmin. So like in Pikmin 1, the yellow Pikmin couldn't do it, but in 2 and 3 they had like electricity resistance and they could complete like electric circuits and stuff. So it was like a new ability added to existing Pikmin. So I was thinking it'd be cool to see like maybe like purple Pikmin be able to do something like throw other Pikmin, even though it's something you can do as well, but maybe you get one that can throw them farther than you're able to, or something like that, then you can like start chaining Pikmin to start throwing each other to reach new areas or something like that. It might be cool just to see what they could do with existing Pikmin to make them more interesting, if that makes sense.
That actually is a good point, because I think there isn't necessarily a ton of interplay between the different Pikmin types, and something they could probably lean more into. I think one of the only examples I can really think of offhand, I might be missing something or forgetting something, is how like the blue Pikmin can rescue like other Pikmin that are drowning in the water, and that's cool. Like that's really neat. And I wish. Actually, I'm going to use that to lead on to another point too. But I think that could be something fun that they lean into more. Like, let the different Pikmin interact with each other in different ways. And to the extent that, as I was just reminded, I think it'd be cool if the Pikmin had a little bit more autonomy to do their own thing. Like, I loved seeing the blue Pikmin just, go rescue a friend or something, instead of having to command them almost at every other moment. And I think that would be kind of like almost if you could like issue like a general command to them, like, hey, be more offensive, or be more defensive, try to get out of the way. And maybe that's what they're talking about, being more strategic, where maybe you don't necessarily have to like tell them exactly what to do at all times, but rather you get more of a general like command. You can make like, soldier Pikmin or, I don't know, like a little Killer Queenish almost in that sense, where you have different Pikmin types that you can modify the behavior thereof.
Yeah, or like even you could have some stationed around wherever your onion or your base is to have them like play defense there, in a way. Like if enemies are going to come by and you just station them there to defend against enemies. Again, some tunneling Pikmin could do cool, like pop out of the ground and attack or something. You
just reminded me of an idea I've had for a while. I think what could be really freaking cool is almost like a tower defense mode. Like, not necessarily a mode. I want it to be part of the main game, but where, like, maybe you don't always take off at night. The whole thing of Pikmin is you have the daytime to do your scavenging, and then nighttime is dangerous, so you gotta fly into the sky. What if that's not the case here? What if your ship doesn't work at all? And part of it is that you need to build up, like, a defense around your base, your landing site, in order to protect yourself at night. Like, so instead of, like, instead of like just tearing things down, as is often the case of Pikmin, you're actually building things up. Like you're building fences or walls, and you need to like hold off the attacking Bulborbs or whatever else at night in order to survive to the daytime.
Okay, that would actually be awesome.
Right? Would that not be cool?
Would be awesome. That would be another way to sort of add pressure to you being efficient. Like maybe you need to gather enough materials, otherwise your base will be overrun at night. Yeah, that actually could be. There's a lot of cool things they could do with that. Yeah. Shoot. Now you've got my brain going.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to build on the idea, feel free. Lolchuck says, "Let the poor Pikmin sleep, Andre." No sleep for them. We're already putting them to work against their will as is. So no sleep for the Pikmin.
I wonder if they could play into that though. Like the Pikmin will get tired if you keep them up at night, so you have to rotate some out of the onion, they sleep during the day. Make some, or maybe that's it. A nocturnal Pikmin is a new type they could add.
That's actually an interesting idea. Yeah, maybe the Pikmin do sleep, and you have to rely on this new Pikmin type in order to survive at night. Maybe they have like night vision or something, you know, like they can see things, or maybe they illuminate around them. Or I forget, do any of the Pikmin illuminate them by themselves? I don't think they do, right? Yellow Pikmin, I guess, when they're electrified, create a glow, but I don't think any of them naturally do.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so that could be, I don't know, I feel like, I have a feeling we are going to, I think this might be one of the most distinct Pikmin games there is, just simply based on how long it's been, the fact that it seemingly was rebooted at some point, I imagine. I feel like they're going to do something very different here, and there are, you know, we've already seen a little taste of that with the, again, changing camera's perspective, the fact that Miyamoto is saying they're leaning more into strategy and deploying Pikmin this time. I gotta see how this is coming together, and that's why I wish we had seen yesterday. That's why, in the moment, I was a little disappointed. It's like, oh, we didn't see, you know, anything of this game. But at the same time, now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, this game exists now for real. I gotta know how it's gonna work, you know?
Totally. No, totally. And I think, like, one of the best things about Pikmin 3 that got added was, like, the go here function and be able to take your group and tell them exactly where to go. And I kind of want to see them build on that and expand that more, because I think that made being able to plan and strategize even more interesting to do than in the first two games.
That's actually a great point. And I think that kind of speaks to what I was saying earlier, where I want them to be more autonomous, because the most annoying thing in the world for me was when you send one of your groups out to you know, go out on their own. You still had to basically babysat them. If they encounter any enemies, they're going to get destroyed. They didn't do anything to defend themselves. The captain had no AI beyond, again, just going to where you told them to. And that's something that they could definitely improve, where, like, let them have at least some rudimentary defense, so they can at least try to hold off the enemy while, you know, until you can re-engage with them or get back to the captain and figure out what to do, you know?
Yeah, even if they suck.
Like, yeah, actually, what might be cool is if the other captains could, like, radio back. I mean, I think they probably already did to some extent in 3. Like, but it'll be like, hey, we're in trouble here, you know, what should I do? And be like, retreat, or, like, you know, attack, where you can, like, issue commands remotely to them, right?
Yeah, you're right. They had, like, a very basic, just like a warning, like, oh no, something, you know, oh no, we're getting attacked, or something like that pop up in 3. But the only solution is to switch over to playing as that character and rescue them or whatever. Yeah, so even just like a quick, like, prompt on screen and you just pick one really quick would go a long way. Totally.
Yeah, almost to the point, and this may be a terrible idea, but where, like, maybe you only have your one primary character still, like that's the only one you directly control, say Olimar or whoever, and then it's the other captains that you're only issuing general commands to, and you know, you kind of leave it up to them. It may not be great, but, you know, unless you're playing in co-op, of course, but... Right.
Well, then I guess you would have to hope Louie's not in your crew, because he wouldn't listen anyways.
That's true. Yeah, that scoundrel, that silly, yeah. I love the characters in Pikmin. They're all, I mean, especially in 3, I think, where they really kind of, like, lean into the character dynamics. I mean, we got to see even, I think they got to pull out even more, even the returning characters, we got to see them behave in new ways, being around this new crew. And that's, and it does make me wonder, like, how are they going to incorporate, you know, Olimar and, what's the guy's name? Louie, yeah, Olimar and Louie, into the story here, but they always find some way to get them in.
Totally. But yeah, I mean, like, in 3, Louie, like, actually robbing you is, like, one of the high points of the game.
It is, especially because it reintroduces the time limit. Like, at that point, you probably had enough food that didn't matter, but like, oh crap, things actually matter again, you know, we gotta go get our food back, and that's awesome. So it's that, again, it's that external pressure I want them to bring back, because that really kind of contextualizes or recontextualizes how you play the game in general. All right, is there anything...
I almost compare that to, like, Eventide Island, like, where it takes away all your, in Breath of the Wild, where it takes away all your gear. It's, like, almost the same sort of setup. Yeah, you still have all your Pikmin, but...
Yeah, Pikmin of the Wild is what we need. Is there anything else from Pikmin 4 you're hoping for that we haven't touched on yet?
I actually just really hope the story is longer, because they're very short games, and I don't mind that because there's such an intense replay value to them. But even still, I remember feeling like Pikmin 2 was a lot longer than Pikmin 1, and then Pikmin 3 was like a step backwards, and it was about the same length as Pikmin 1 on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just feel like maybe a more expansive, a longer main story campaign would be really cool. Or even if you didn't want to do that, even just like several maybe smaller campaigns that all have their own stories, but all play out in that style, and all kind of connect to a larger story. That would be really cool. Like almost like what's like Live Alive has like, it's maybe not that many, but like it's got its own stories and then they all kind of come together. That sort of idea would be kind of cool. Maybe 4 different stories with 4 different captains, and then you have them all meet in the end.
Oh man,
I don't know. That would
pretty,
be cool.
It will be pretty expansive. Nate the Great says in the chat, I'm hoping for a pseudo-open world where the major areas are naturally connected and you find new landing sites. Now that's an interesting idea. I love the idea. Yeah, that's something they haven't really played with really at all. Like every area, I think, has only one landing site. I guess it may change when you... Did it change if you found... No, I don't think it ever changed, did it?
No,
yeah, it doesn't.
Site.
I think that'd be cool. Like, that'd be a way to play into the strategy, too. Like, if you find a new point of interest, you can make that a landing site then and land near that next time, you know? And maybe if they introduce my, tower defense idea, like, that could play into it, too. Like, well, where's the best place to hold up for the night, or hold up for the night? So I really like the idea, actually. Even if it's not like a full, true open world with every area being connected, which I also really enjoy, make the worlds even more expansive, but make it so that you actually have different areas you can land within them, like little sub-areas and stuff.
No, actually, I agree. That would be a huge change. And like you said, it would play into the strategy more. Like, say, you've cleared out this whole section of the map, and all the treasure you've got left is over on that side of things. Having a new point where you can land over there now at the beginning of the next day would streamline things in a way, but also make things more interesting because you have to sort of reacquaint yourself with the surroundings of that area. But yeah, and that would be... Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I think that having this new camera perspective would help with that. I will admit that I'm one... maybe it was just me. I did find myself getting lost at times at Pikmin 3. It was better in the deluxe version that had some familiarity with those levels already, so it didn't annoy me as much. But like the levels were getting to the point where they were big enough. I'm like, I don't even remember where things are now, just because like from the top-down perspective, your viewpoint's limited, and the map wasn't a huge help for me until I actually understood everything. But I think having this new camera perspective where you actually can see now, beyond a small frame of reference, I think will help a lot with that, and would really allow them to kind of expand the world in a much broader way.
Yeah, no, totally. And other than that, I kind of hope that they have more control options like 3 had. Like, I thought it was really cool that they allowed you to play with different control schemes. Even I ended up not going with the motion control or the pointer with the Joy-Con just because I didn't feel like it was quite as smooth as the Wii remote.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But but I mean, it was cool that it was an option still. So I kind of just want to see them play around with different control schemes or even customize control schemes or things like that. Yeah.
So Valentine says, give Pikmin equipment, shields, clubs, digging tools, fluty. And then Jonas says, I want more varied Pikmin attacks, maybe hard to render, but having Pikmin trip Bulborbs and kicking, tackling them would be cool. And, I kind of like these ideas. Maybe not exactly those, but I think augmenting your Pikmin in some way beyond just simply powering them up, with the spray you have or letting them grow a little bit longer in the ground. I think there is potential there, like maybe you have an environment where you do need them to, be equipped with something or tailored in some way that is better befitting of that world. And that could be neat. That could be something that's worth exploring.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think I would rather have just like new types over like having, like giving a sword to my, red
No, I want little Pikmin warriors out there now.
All right. That's fine. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I just I do feel like if we customize them in some way, I'll get very attached to them, and it'll hurt.
Oh my god! Can you imagine if you actually name your Pikmin like Pokemon? You actually name every individual one, and then you would just. I want like a little funeral for each of them. Every time one dies, you should have to deal with the remorse of like the gravity of what you did to that poor Pikmin.
What if there was like a morale like gauge? So if like too many die, the other Pikmin get sad and they won't fight as hard or something like.
Oh man.
Like you cannot do Pikmin genocide because the Pikmin will get depressed and they won't work for you.
That would actually be. I mean, it would probably be almost impossible to balance. But I kind of love the idea. Like if you're terrible to the Pikmin, they just stop fighting for you. You know, like no, you're on your own now.
Yeah.
I do think I think it would be cool if they do find some way to build like a better bond or a stronger bond between you and your Pikmin. Like I don't know, it's hard to envision exactly what that would look like, but something that does incentivize you in some way to, you know, I don't know, help them out better or you know, work with them better than you do currently. Like just something like that, maybe not necessarily like takes away from the gameplay, but one that's additive. Like something like, hey, we're working harder now for you because like you haven't killed one of our friends in 3 days or something.
Yeah. Actually, it makes me think of there's this old RTS called Majesty. I don't know if you've ever played it. It's like from the 90s. It's way old, but in it you couldn't directly tell your troops where to go. You had to incentivize them. So like say you wanted them to kill an enemy, you had to put a bounty on that enemy. And if you were like this king in this and if you were like too terrible a king or like no one would want to listen to you, so you'd put a bounty and your forces could just flat out ignore you. Or if you were like actually good to your people, like you didn't, you know, raise the taxes too high, or just like there was all these elements, but there totally was a system in that game where like all of the forces had their own autonomy to just ignore you if they felt like you were doing too bad a job. So and I don't think I've seen another RTS do that kind of thing. You know, you play like StarCraft, Warcraft. You just tell them where to go. They just go, right? So
yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Valentine says, make them happy with snacks and music. Yeah, like little fun little things like that.
Yes.
I'm now almost imagining like little Pikmin band, like beating on their war drums, you know?
Yes. Maybe that's the new Pikmin type, the Pikmin marching band.
I love it. Oh man, yes. that'd be great. Yeah, I'm just so curious to see. Like, obviously they weren't ready to show much more of this game yet, so they are hiding some big things about it, and I just want to know what they could be. Mystery Yoshi says, knowing Miyamoto, he could try to make using Pikmin Bloom to get special outfits for some Pikmin in the 4th game. You know, I wouldn't be shocked if there isn't some kind of crossover there, like with maybe some unlockables or something you get in Bloom that you can use in Pikmin 4 or something.
Right.
I wouldn't expect anything too big.
Yeah, like Pocket Camp for Animal Crossing had like some minor cosmetic stuff you could get, that kind of thing.
It would actually be smart to have some kind of crossover, but I think it might be a good way of bringing Pikmin fans from Pikmin 4 to play the mobile games. Like myself, I've largely been ignoring it because I haven't had much reason to go play it, and it wasn't particularly fun when I did play it. But if they update the game, you know, maybe give incentive for people in Pikmin 4 to go check it out, it'd probably be smart to do that.
Totally, yeah. Just hopefully they would add something into Bloom to make it more engaging once people do jump over.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll see.
I want to circle back to something Jake, our own Jake, mentioned in the chat earlier. He wants us to be able to ride a Bulborb. He wants Pikmin to be able to ride Bulborbs around. That would be, oh my god, like imagine like almost like riding a Rancor around in the Boba Fett show, Book of Boba Fett or whatever. That would be amazing. Yes. Like if you again, it gets back to like increasing the amount of options that Pikmin themselves have, you know, expanding what they can do in this world. I think there's so much more they could do with that, whether it's with each other or whether it's with the environment. I just think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be cool to see like there's, like you mentioned, the Bulbmin in Pikmin 2. So if you could like keep them and raise them, they would like grow into full-size ones that you can send into battle or something. Yeah.
What do you think they need to do with Pikmin 4 to have it reach more people? Like Pikmin seems like it's kind of topped off. Like it seems like Pikmin 3 Deluxe seems like it might be as good as the series is going to get in terms of sales. I actually don't remember the sales offhand for it. So what I assume Nintendo would want to expand it even farther. Clearly with Pikmin Bloom even. What do you think they need to do here to make that happen?
I was just gonna say we'll just put it on Switch because everything sells better on Switch. But Pikmin 3 Deluxe was on Switch, so but it still sold better than any of the other games in the series, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think they just need to, in their advertising, actually communicate what's enjoyable about Pikmin. And I feel like that is actually kind of a difficult task. Like it's not easy to tell people like, oh, what do you like about this game? Well, it's kind of stressful and you have to organize, and it's about time management, and like that doesn't necessarily sound like a fun video game, but
No.
yeah, but yeah, just being able to communicate effectively like what those strengths of the gameplay is and what's fun about that, and just market the hell out of it before it comes out. And I think just between that and by virtue of it being on Switch, I think it'll probably sell at least decently well. Probably sell better than other Pikmin games, but you know, not as much as your Marios or Zeldas that are out there. So, but, yeah,
I do think, honestly, just even the new camera perspective, I think might help with that. Like, it gives it a more relatable perspective to, like, you know, Dark Souls or any number of third-person games, right? And I think it might make it feel a little bit more visceral, where like you're more in the action than removed from it. And that might be all they need in order to retain what makes Pikmin, and while still bringing in a new audience. So, that might be enough. We had a couple comments here. The Real Sean says that indie game about small critters you could use to make ladders and stuff had some great ideas. I'd like to see some of those ideas in Pikmin. Yeah, is that Tinykin? Is that what it's called? Toykin? Tinykin?
I do not remember. I remember someone sent me that trailer and said, "Oh, you'd probably like this game. It's a lot like Pikmin," and I have forgotten all about it until now.
Yeah, I saw my roommate playing that. Tinykin. It is Tinykin. Thanks, Gunplex.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that those are some great ideas. Like, I think, you know, I joked about earlier, Pikmin of the Wild. I also think that may not be a bad angle for it, in the sense that Pikmin has historically been very binary or digital based, like where you have these set interaction points, you interact with it, you do the thing, and that's it. Like, you're basically toggling switches, like you're knocking down walls, you're or building a preset bridge. There's not much in the way of being able to come up with like free-form solutions, and that could be something that I think they really improve on, where maybe you can build a bridge or a stick pile or wherever, like, you know, build a way for Pikmin to grapple across somewhere, anywhere, you know, maybe that's more freeform. Right. And I think things of that nature could really help and kind of bring in the Breath of the Wild influence, where you can kind of go about this world however you want.
So more customization, just being more dynamic with those systems, that kind of thing. Yeah, I think yeah, even like it would be cool, like if you find things like that, like maybe there's the fence here and you can scavenge the pieces and move them to somewhere else to sort of shape things to strategically to, like, you know, either bolster your defenses or to reach new areas, that kind of thing. I think that would be really cool. Yeah.
Mario and Luigi Bro says, do you think the new camera perspective will be the only one, or do you think you'll be able to use the classic perspective as well?
I think both, because he said, like, Miyamoto said, like, you can even do this, but he didn't say, like, this is the new thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it seems like an option.
I'd be surprised if it's not here at the least in some form. If not as a new gameplay mechanic, as I suggested with the like little UFO thing you can fly around. But I do think you'll be able to at least like move the camera to a top-down perspective in some way, even if that's not the primary way to play. And you know, it is interesting thinking more about this, because if you are able to play it from a third-person perspective, that does kind of change how the cursor works from 3 at the least, where you had the you could freely aim it with the pointer, for instance. That probably would be very different, because it'd be harder to aim behind your main character, for instance, unless you rotate the camera. So even just pointing directly wouldn't work the same. Which kind of maybe speaks more to the control changes here, and again makes me just wonder how this is going to control. Like, is it going to be more like the first 2 Pikmin games, where the cursor is tied to your character movement, you know? Or in fact, do we even see a cursor in that image? I don't think there's any UI there at all, so I wouldn't read too much into it. But it makes me wonder, like, is it gonna be even more direct? Maybe there is no cursor. Maybe you're just straight up throwing the Pikmin and seeing what happens, you know? Maybe you can just better gauge that range just intuitively.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. There's, yeah, like you said, no UI in that image, like the one screenshot that we saw. But I mean, yeah, it does make me wonder then, like, are you going to be sort of toggling camera perspectives frequently then, just to be able to get anything done? Or are they sort of doing more I want to say automated, but more with like locking on to things. Like Pikmin 3 Deluxe had a heavier focus on like locking onto targets, like with I think it's ZR. So and you kind of snap to different things that you can interact with. Like I have to wonder if they're just retooling it that way, or just something completely new that we haven't thought of.
Yeah, I mean, probably that. Valentine says, hold the phone, you could bring the camera down in the first game. I do remember that with the Z button, but I don't recall it going all, like, I don't think it was down to the perspective that they may be talking about here. Maybe it was, I don't fully remember. I do remember it not being particularly playable in that camera angle, I think.
Yeah.
Matthew says, nighttime operations would be a cool addition to the series. Yes, we talked about that earlier. I think that has massive potential, and I think that could possibly be one of the new elements here. Especially with, the emphasis on the clock in this trailer. Like, that could just be referencing a time limit, but it could be referencing the fact that time is expanded here, where it's not just daytime operations, you got night ops as well, so...
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Low Turtle says first-person mode. Oh my god. That'd be hilarious.
That would be... I feel like that would make it more difficult.
I want to see,
like... it in first person.
You can get eaten from a first-person perspective.
No.
I think Pikmin kind of stepped away from this. I would love it if your captain were actually in more danger. Like, if you were actually at risk yourself, and it feels more like a game of survival, where, like, oh, these characters or enemies, Bulborbs, are actually, like, these are actually dangerous, and I have to watch out for myself now, too. Where, like, if you're by yourself, if you had no Pikmin around, you're basically dead.
Right. That's true. That's true. And I think you could, like, punch enemies lightly, but it was not very effective. So yeah, I think, like, in addition to, like, the added stress, as it were, or whatnot, adding, like, more danger to yourself. Because, I mean, it sucks when the Pikmin die, but you can always get more Pikmin. As that sounds very callous of me, but the Pikmin are, like, a dime a dozen.
They really are,
yeah. Yeah, so... But then if like 20 of them can die, and it's like, okay, what's an inconvenience? But if you die, it's actually game over. And there was like almost no risk of that.
There was something interesting about I'm not a huge fan of the Ks of Pikmin 2, but I will say they did make you think about your Pikmin a little bit more carefully than you normally do, because you only have as many as you go in with. And then that could be an element to play into, where maybe you can't just have an infinite amount of Pikmin at your disposal. Basically, you have to be more careful with them. So making them a little bit harder to acquire, perhaps, or regrow, or slower. I don't know. We're almost out of time here, but a couple quick things. Mr. Yoshi says, I'm curious from the scene of the bench if it's a dungeon from how it looks, or how it looks more walled off. It would be interesting if they brought back dungeons, but with a time limit. Yeah, I did notice that, like, there is a clear barrier now, and it makes me wonder, like, if these environments are going to have, like, that very, with the new camera perspective, you're always going to have that clear, area they can't go beyond, and if everything is going to be like this boxed in type thing, and how that might work, and if that, if this is a dungeon, or if this is just one of the worlds,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about that, but I guess if you are like bringing the camera perspective down, you need a more clear way of defining what is explorable area and what is sort of out of bounds, or the boundaries of the world, right? So yeah, but hopefully just putting a fence around everything that feels like a cheap solution.
Yeah, that's what I don't want. Like I hope everything doesn't look like this little park format that we see, and I'm sure it won't. The levels have usually been pretty varied.
Yes.
But yeah, I definitely don't want to feel like, I don't want to feel claustrophobic. I don't want to feel like I'm boxed in everywhere. So hopefully it's not just like walls everywhere.
For sure.
Daniel, I know you gotta go in a moment. So is there anything else about this game you want to get out there that we haven't had time to discuss yet?
I think we've covered it, honestly. I'm just in shock still that it's real and it exists. That's I mean, I never thought this would happen, so yeah, it's I really just hope people actually give the series a chance, because a lot of people talking about their highlights for the Direct just are like, yeah, Zelda was great and whatever, and I'm like, Pikmin though, like no one's talking about how this is a huge deal.
Yeah, so, it is. I think for some they just didn't show much. Like there's not a whole lot to chew on there, even though we've talked for an hour about it, but mostly in just like pie in the sky ideas. So I really can't wait to see this full reveal for this game. I gotta see how they're upgrading it, how it's going to play. Even just visually, I will say, like, it looks like a step up from 3. Like, the ground textures look better.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, too, I remember when Pikmin 3 came out, a common sentiment at the time was like it looks like to a degree that was ported from the Wii, which apparently it was originally being built for. I don't know if I ever fully agreed with that, but I can see why some may have thought that in some instances. But now that this is a ground-up game for the Switch, I'm excited to see, to what degree it fully looks better and that it enables the gameplay and all that. So, all right,
maybe they'll make more Pikmin shorts too.
Yeah, hey, I'm all about that. So, Daniel, if people want to follow more of your content, find out more of your thoughts on Pikmin and all things Zelda as well. I know you're a bit of a Zelda guy. Where can they find you at?
Yeah, well, I'm a co-host on the Hylian Gamescast on the Game Over Jesse channel, but otherwise, all of my socials are all Capt Burgerson. That's CaptBurgerson. And yeah, mostly I talk Zelda, but occasionally other stuff, Mario, Metroid, Pikmin, etc. So, yeah.
Yeah, when you're starting the Pikmin podcast.
Well, not a lot of people want to be a part of that, unfortunately. So.
All right, well, when you do, you have me on, and we'll discuss Pikmin every week.
Hell yeah!
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Pikmin 4. I'm excited for this game. I know you are, and hopefully we'll have more in not too long to discuss whenever they show it off next. Which, I mean, knowing this, all we know is it's coming out sometime next year, so it could be a while, but hopefully not too long. So, all right. Everyone, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this, and stay tuned for more on Pikmin 4 in the future and everything else here at Nintendo. We'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.